Vanessa, find out who logistics is and have them in the room. If I'm in the room, they should be in the room. So for a warm-up exercise, I want you to start where we left off last night. Instead of going to people in your small group, I want you to go to everybody else and do a strength shower on whoever's in front of you. You know, give each other one acknowledgement, and then go on to somebody else so you can get to as many people as you can in the next few minutes. Okay? Go.
How are you doing, Michelle? Good. How are you? Doing awesome. Hey, come here. You're looking good. Okay. What I see is not willing to be
and want to go through as well.
You're checking in people, right?
Now Allison.
No, someone else is. Okay. My mom, but I want to talk to her because she does come up as my it's kind of complicated. I don't know if she's showing up or not, but she's supposed to. So.
Your smile is just
Whatever
the
you
energy
have, tell you that it's okay.
very just be like this. Oh yeah, just huge energy. I'm so excited that you're doing this.
Thank you.
You're very fun.
You are too.
Very easy to talk to and look at.
All right.
Just like a friendly energy. She's better looking than me. Smile. Always makes me feel so welcome. Your eyes, your whole countenance. It's just like a hug.
Give each other one each and then get on to other people so you can do a couple of people during the time you have.
Okay. Jonathan! Yeah, buddy? How are you? I guess we're supposed to group now. Yeah, right, exactly. So,
I can see it. I mean, this is like, it's
yes, gentle eyes and peace within you. And a lot of times you don't feel you have it, but you do. Just really truly smart.
You're not. Yeah, tell me kids what I got. We've done this. I know, we've done this so many times. Blended the good with, but not in wicked.
That too?
Like when she's really good and concerned about us.
Oh, we just waited all
Yeah, break down. And just like, that is you. That is you. You're like, enchanted. Okay, like her. Like, come on, everybody. Like she's just so sweet.
There's like some outrageous. Backyard. I'm ready to sign
That too.
Bring it up to all
Hey,
my table.
hey, how are you?
Lou's like very sensitive. Good.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, wrap it up. Have a seat.
Yep, that's my favorite part. Nobody else is wrapping it up.
Wrap it up. Have a seat.
I'm sorry I knocked that over.
Have a seat. I want to give you a little bit of a warning. Experiential workshops, actually, for those of you who are future facilitators or current facilitators, just know any experiential workshop that has agreements and is experiential is a setup for what's called breakdown, breakthrough. Doesn't matter what the topic is, you know what I mean? When your subconscious knows that it's about to go to higher ground, it does, Wilbur will do whatever it can to sabotage, which means you're kind of knocking on the door of the dragon and going, come out and play, dragon, you know what I mean? So don't be surprised when you're in a workshop that might be a bit intense if you subconsciously create obstacles getting in your way. Unexpected things that try to take you out of the course. You get what I'm saying? The counter to that, always in life, is intention. Intention is the program for the human biocomputer. Everything in your life is so because you say it is so. If you weren't saying it was so, it would be different. Because you are a God using intention and not even knowing how you're wielding your magic wand. So, just a little warning. Now let's do a brainstorm review, which means that you'll raise your hand, you'll call out one sentence statements that capture any of the material we did last night that you loved or that you want to remember, and we'll acknowledge each share, and then we'll go on and do as many of these as we can in a few minutes, okay? So raise your hand, I'll call on you. Rebecca.
Every time I hide and don't share my gifts, someone suffers or dies because they want to live and they don't know how.
Absolutely. Excellent. Acknowledged. That was a quote from a very wise woman named Elisa. I can hardly wait till you really come out and start sharing your gifts, because I always see how brilliant you are. as a healer and facilitator and all that. Okay, Anastasia.
Energy needs structure.
Energy follows structure. It doesn't need energy. Most people spend their whole life on the edge of a river eddying out over the same love life and financial stuff, you know what I mean? They just keep going around. If you're in your 30s or over, you should start to realize that your love life is just different sides of the same coin again and again and again, and you know. So it doesn't need structure, it follows structure. If you don't create a structure, you're just going to keep spinning out all the time. Great, acknowledge. Somebody else. Okay, Mary.
You're either doing what works or resisting doing what works.
Yes, yes, acknowledge. Shelley. Shelley.
Oh, that was mine.
She stole your
I'm
share.
reading my notes.
Slap her.
No.
Okay, Tricia.
You're either in the love-based theater or the fear-based theater.
That's right, acknowledge. Okay, Ennis.
You either process your emotions or you act them out.
You either process them in a healthy way, and most of you haven't ever learned how to deal with your emotions in a healthy way. Until you do Lori's class on peer processing, believe me, you have not been trained. And you don't realize how much you act out your emotions, especially your negative emotions. You don't even see when you shut down. All you see is the result, that you ain't getting what you want and you don't know why. Great, acknowledge. Okay, Michael.
Your fear of failure is nothing compared to your fear of success, not even close.
Yep, excellent, acknowledge. Holly.
It is a skill to look below the surface.
That's right. That's where the real power is. Most people would never do a workshop like this because they don't have any problems. They're hunky-dory. You know what I mean? The idea, I mean, if you say, oh, it was a great movie, they're like, I'm there, baby, you know? You say, oh, I did this workshop, it was so valuable. They're like, valuable? Oh, no, I might have to look deep and find out something's wrong with me. Ah! Excellent, acknowledge. Anybody else? I thought I said more than that last night. Tricia.
When you're standing in your power, you're saying, I count, I matter, and I make a difference.
That's right. That's right. Excellent. Acknowledge. Emily?
Honoring your truth is the single greatest key to being happy or successful.
Yep.
Truth is life. To dishonor your truth is suicide.
Beautiful. Acknowledge. Somebody over here raised their hand.
I raised my
Sean.
hand, but that was the one I was going to say, so I'll add to it. And not honoring your truth is suicide.
That's right. Excellent. Acknowledge. That was interesting last night. That was the first time I've ever said that.
Spoke to me. Very true.
It's interesting how different groups pull different things out of me. You know what I mean? It's fascinating. Excellent. Todd, has somebody cleared you?
They did.
Thank you. Okay. Alice, you weren't too hard on Todd, were you?
Well, I think he cleared me.
Way to go.
I do.
Okay, who else? Okay, Rebecca.
Says, how much am I willing to stretch into interacting with others at my highest level of energy?
That's right. Good, and since you've got two red dots on, I'll reiterate what I said last night when I was doing Jonathan's soul reading, is that for you, increasing your financial abundance is absolutely a function of how much you step into your power and claim your voice back. Good job, acknowledge. I loved it last night when Wendy and Karen acted out their old ways and showed you, because I mean, I'm not kidding, that was real. They were showing you how they came across when they stepped into my work. And you can tell that they're not exactly like that now. Excellent. And of course, their lives reflect the changes they've made. You know what I mean? Traveling around the world and having a good time, that kind of thing. Okay, somebody else, any others? Okay, Mary.
Your biggest hang-ups are your greatest gifts.
That's right. Your greatest gifts, strengths, and talents. Just being blocked from expression. Beautiful. Somebody else. Jeff.
Barriers are a lack of skills.
That's right. All the obstacles in our life are nothing more than a lack of skills. You know, the greatest lesson for me like that, I'd spent 3 years in Sea-Doo, and we earned a trip to Hawaii. We spent a week in Hawaii, but I'd saved up some money. So I was going to leave Sea-Doo and vacation in Hawaii for a few months and stuff, you know. And I got out, and there was somebody who had a sign that said, surfing lessons, $10, which today would be like $100, right? Or more. And I thought, I'm an athlete, you know, I don't need to pay somebody. I'll just get a surfboard, you know. Well, I spent an hour trying to get up, and I couldn't do it. And I went, okay, I'll pay the $10, you know. So the guy shows me to do this, and you know, okay. I get out there, and I got right up, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like, life is a function of skills. You don't have the skill, you don't get up. Okay, acknowledge. By the way, Jeff, I really loved the way you played last night. You and Seth, that was great. And I just want you to know, in that exercise, you changed your life. You came out at a level that was basically saying to your physiology and your subconscious, I have permission. I can come out. I can show up. Great.
Yeah, I felt it.
Good. Acknowledge. Anybody else? Michelle.
Life gives consequences for poor decisions. You have courage or are comfortably numb.
That's right. And the other part of that is that what Carol Kostick said is that movement to mastery, or any program that gives you consequences and rewards, helps you to assign internal systems so that you can acknowledge life's natural consequences. You know what I mean? Because mostly people just make bad decisions and don't realize until the consequence hits them, they go, ooh, I don't like this. They're not aware, they're not conscious. Good job, acknowledge.
I just have a question about that. Could you give an example of what you mean, like what she meant by that?
Yeah. Okay. Remember I used the example of how people would say, I really, really, really want to find true love, right? That's pretty common. And so they sit by their picture window thinking, this could work, you know?
Right.
Or the common pitfall for single people is that they, instead of going for who they really want, which is really scary, they go for who they think they can get. Trouble with that is you can never get enough of what you don't really want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they get what they think they can get. Doesn't take them long before they realize, well, I don't really want this. That's a natural consequence of life, of a bad decision.
Okay.
But if you're going to play a game where you attach consequence and rewards, and your group says, well, you know, that plan is lousy, why don't you do this instead? Because I think you're fooling yourself, and now you have a good plan. And if you do A, B, C, D, and F, you know, and you have a no exits game, you could actually find true love. Woo! That's called structure and support. I remember there's a guy in our group a few years back who weighed over 300 pounds. And his goal was to find the love of his life. That was the one goal he was going to focus on. And of course, everybody in the group was like, okay, good luck, right? Within 3 months, he found the love of his life. Great. Actually, if you're LDS, you should ask me on the sidelines to tell you a fun story about him and his mom and when Joseph Smith came to the awakening. Okay, somebody else. Any other? Okay, Mary.
Every time you open your mouth, you're talking to yourself.
Yes. It might be true for the other person, but it's definitely true for you. Acknowledge. Trisha.
Stay in the zone with a physical anchor.
That's an option. That's something you can use NLP to do. If you ever want to perform at your peak in any area of your life, then you can create a physical anchor to perform at your peak. That's why I love working with athletes, because you can see the results immediately. By the way, I want to get your feedback about the story I told about my nephew, about Nathaniel. Okay? What I wanted to communicate was that if I can do this, because I have the tools for my nephew, imagine what any of you can do for the people that you care about. Now, did that come across?
Yeah.
I want to make sure it came across that way. Good. Thank you. Okay, any others? Shelley.
Stretch to accelerate the rate at which you grow.
That's right. That's the whole point of the Spirit of the Awakened Warrior Workshop. To accelerate the pace at which you grow. Instead of taking 10 years to get certain blessings in your love life or your money, it'd be nice if you could actually accelerate the pace at which you grow so you get them in 3 or 4 years instead of 10 years. Great. Good job. Sean.
Perception is projection.
Oh, did we acknowledge Shelley Share? Good.
No.
Okay. Perception is projection.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
How do I know the difference between perception and observation?
I don't think it matters. Tell me what you mean by observation. Are you talking about self-awareness?
It was just a thought that occurred to me as I was driving in, so I'm not clear.
Okay.
But perception is, I know that when I'm triggered, it's never about me, right? And so that projection is always perception. Where does it cross the line between I'm just observing something and not interpreting it?
I only laugh because Jeremy and I argue about this all the time. No, that's a perception. No, that's an observation.
No, this is what I really see.
Okay.
It's the truth.
Yeah. The thing you got to remember is that it's impossible for you to perceive anything without it being a projection. In other words, if you see it, you're projecting. Period.
Okay, but what if, like, somebody's a drug addict? I'm
Yeah.
obviously not a drug addict.
That's right. But if I put a drug addict up here and I say, okay, everybody, write down 5 adjectives for what you see up here.
That's you.
Yeah. Oh, I see weakness. I see lazy.
Yeah,
I
the
see.
adjectives, but not the fact that.
No.
So that's like,
That's right.
I don't know if that.
What's a projection is what you perceive, not the addiction. What you perceive. You know what I'm saying? That's right. And one thing you want to know is that if anything somebody's doing or saying is triggering you, that's God's way of saying, you might look at this because it could take you to higher ground.
Yeah.
So I had the question on the trigger thing.
Yeah.
You said if something triggers you, it's not about you, or what did you say?
No, Sean said that.
Yeah, whenever I'm triggered, it has nothing to do with the other person. There's
It has to
lesson
do with
for
me.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
actually
playing
said-
a tape.
Opposite of what we
I'm playing a tape and it's my lesson.
Okay, what'd you say about that? It's God's way of telling you to look at
That you
something.
might want to look at it, because you can rise to higher ground if you actually learn from it. Okay, let's acknowledge that share.
So back to that, maybe the observation, like what you're saying, oh, that's a drug addict, is without judgment, and the perception is when there's a judgment, like, oh, they're weak or they're lazy. Like to just observe, oh, that person has blonde hair. There's no judgment in
If
that.
you're
That's
making
an
if you're
observation.
making a distinction between observing as being I have no energy on it, that could be a distinction. But it's still a projection. It's a projection that I'm seeing where I don't have any energy on it. If you're making that distinction, then okay.
Well, there's a story I heard, and it was talking about back when like the Indians first saw the sails coming
Yeah.
on the ships.
Yeah.
And they didn't have anything inside themselves to understand what they were seeing, and
Right.
they thought they were seeing clouds or something because they had
They saw the
nothing-
waves.
They saw waves. They had nothing within themselves
Right.
to identify with what they were seeing. So they couldn't. That goes to show that it's impossible to observe without
Having a reference point.
without projecting something within ourselves
Right.
on what we're
Yeah,
observing.
when you get to the awakening, you'll find out pretty quickly that you've never met your parents. All you've ever met is what you interpreted, imagined, created. Your parents have dozens of hang-ups and gifts and strengths and talents that you don't even see. And when I have brothers and sisters in the same awakening, and I am put on their chest their dad's or mom's weaknesses or gifts and strengths, and they walk up to each other and go, who did you grow up with?
Mm-hmm.
That's not dad, this is dad. Acknowledge. Okay, Todd?
I kind of use an analogy with perception and observation as to watching a movie. Observation is just watching the movie, whereas perception is that I'm in the movie. I'm one of the characters.
Yeah, that's a nice distinction. Good, acknowledge. Okay, Michelle?
Okay, so from a quantum physics point of view,
Yeah.
whatever you perceive responds how you expect it to.
Right.
As long as there's an observer, it's going to do what you want it to do, so you're going to perceive what you want to perceive.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Because it will make itself
That's right.
what you want to see, so that you'll be satisfied with the perception.
And physicists are now gravitating toward the many worlds theory, which basically says, if you listen to Stephen Hawking, that each one of you has created your own universe, and that universe literally exists just for you. You are God in your universe.
That's right.
Acknowledge. Okay. Now, the heart of the Movement to Mastery program is the various workshops like Success in Relationships, Empowerment Dialogue, Magical Realms of the Sacred Self, the Pinnacle of Presentations. If you sign up for the bigger program, it includes Spirit of the Awakened Warrior. You know, all of you do 30 days to peak performance. And so, like I said yesterday, the way I can give you a really good taste of the value of that program is by doing processes that are in some of those different workshops. So now, get the video Dead Poets ready. I'm going to do a process that comes from the pinnacle of presentations, okay? And I'll say it again, the power of stretch. If you want to accelerate the pace at which you grow or rise to higher ground and the blessings that await you on higher ground, stretch. Any exercise where you express yourself at 100% anchors in your intention deeply on all levels. Most people are dedicated to comfort, not courage. Comfortable is not alive. Living inside the box is not alive. As Helen Keller said, life is either a daring adventure or nothing. So we'll watch the video, and then I'm going to let a few of the volunteers come up and do a demonstration. Go ahead.
Now, who's next? Mr. Anderson, sitting there in agony. Come on, Todd, step up. Let's put you out of your misery.
I didn't do it. I didn't read it.
Mr. Anderson thinks that everything inside of him is worthless and embarrassing. You're right, Todd. And that's your worst fear. I think you're wrong. I think you have something inside of you that is worth a great deal. I sound my Eric. Yo. The rooftops of the world. W, Uncle Walt again. Now, for those of you who don't know, a yelp is a loud cry or yell. Now, Todd, I would like you to give us a demonstration of a barbaric yelp. Come on, you can't yelp sitting down. Let's go. Come on, up. Gotta get in yelping stance.
A yelp.
No, not just a yelp. A barbaric yelp.
Yelp.
Come on, louder.
Yelp.
Oh, that's a mouse. Come on, louder.
Yelp.
Oh, good God, boy, yell like that. There it is. You see, you're a barbarian and you after all. Now, you don't get away that easy. Picture Uncle Walt up there. What does he remind you of? Don't think. Answer. Go on.
A madman.
What kind of madman? Don't think about it. Just answer again.
A crazy madman.
No, you can do better than that. Free up your mind. Use your imagination. Say the first thing that pops into your head, even if it's total gibberish. Go on.
A sweaty-toothed madman.
Good God, boy, there's a poet in you after all. There, close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close them. Now, describe what you see.
I close my eyes.
Yes?
And this image floats beside me.
Sweaty-toothed madman.
The sweaty-toothed madman with a stare that pounds my brain.
Oh, that's excellent. Now, give him action. Make him do something.
His hands reach out and choke me.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And all the time he's mumbling.
What's he mumbling?
Mumbling truth.
Yes.
Truth like a blanket that always leaves your feet cold.
Forget them. Stay with the blanket. Tell me about that blanket.
You push it, stretch it, it'll never be enough. You kick at it, beat it, it'll never cover any of us. From the moment we enter crying to the moment we leave dying, it'll just cover your face as you wail and cry and scream.
Don't you forget this.
Lights? So my favorite movie on Jesus is Jesus of Nazareth, which is a 6-hour thing that came out decades ago. And I love it when Jesus says to the apostles, he goes, look, dudes, you know, freely you've received, now freely give. Get out there and don't worry about what you're going to say. It's not you speak, it's your Father speaking through you, right? So he sends them out there in pairs, and they go out and they speak. And then they come back and stand around the fire. And they're saying things like, oh, Master, there is so much excitement about you everywhere. And some people are saying you're, you know, Ezekiel raised from the dead. And some people say you're this and that. And Jesus sees a golden opportunity. He knows something that I'll teach you right now. That in your daily life, in the quality of daily life, you can only rise as high as your level of perception. The second principle is that perception is only limited by imagination. And the third principle is that your imagination is only limited by your current level of personal power, which you can consider confidence or self-esteem or self-concept, personal power. In other words, right now you have a certain level of personal power, and based on that, you can only imagine a certain level of things. Depending on what you have the ability to imagine, that is the context of your quality of life. So Jesus recognizes an opportunity and he goes, okay, who do you say that I am? Because he understands that depending on how they answer will tell us who is seeing things from that level of personal power. So now, I'm going to give some of you an opportunity because I have a question for you. And I'm going to let some volunteers raise your hand. I'll call on you. Then you're going to come up and you're going to have about 45 seconds to answer a question. I'm going to need a timekeeper, Ari. Okay? And you can give them a 10-minute warning, 10-second warning. Okay? So the question you're going to answer when you come up to the front of the room is, why are we here? That's the question. And of course, you can only answer that question from your current level of personal power. Put it on that side because I need room to get to the music table from here. Thank you. So, raise your hand, I'll call on you. Oh, by the way, whoever comes up to the front, as they go to do their thing, as a group, you're all going to call out the word more until you feel like they've hit the mark and they've given it 100%. When they give it 100%, then you don't have to keep calling out more. Okay? Good. Okay, who wants to go first? Sean, come on up. So, as soon as he starts talking, you start the time. 45 seconds. And I'll coach you as you go. Why are we here?
Now?
As soon as you're ready.
We're here to live, we're here to love, we're here to give, we're here to serve, we're here to create, we're here to be passionate, we're here to serve, we're here to give, we're here to love, we're here to create. We're here to smile, we're here to be happy, we're here to feel. We're here to experience and love and live and give and create. Am I still going? Oh my gosh, I didn't know what I was walking into.
10 seconds.
More! We're supposed to experience each other. We're supposed to smile. We're supposed to give. We're supposed to create. We're supposed to love. We're supposed to...
Okay, stay there for a second, okay?
I even knew what I was walking into and I forgot what I was walking into.
Okay, I just want you to do one sentence, but I want you to be as loud as you absolutely can. Go.
We're here to love!
It's interesting that even being as loud as you can feel your energy pulling back. Do it again, only this time, let it go. Let it out. Don't turtle it. You can sit with the same sentence. You can even say it lower, slower, and longer. It's interesting for you, the speeding up is a way of hiding out. We are here to love and make it last and let it as loud as you can.
Yeah, I got you. We are here to love!
Good. Shoot, acknowledge. Have a seat. That was really close. That was about 99%. It's great.
Hey, Sean, one of the things that definitely helps you, you know, when Gary's saying you kind of drew back, the first time you did the one sentence, you actually shifted your body back.
Yeah. This
time you actually shifted it forward. That definitely assisted you.
Thanks.
Good job. Acknowledge again. You know, during Movement to Mastery, you're going to have the opportunity to make presentations. usually with your small group, but there will be, of course, the pinnacle of presentations, which is a workshop where you're going to learn how to accelerate your personal presence, because everything positive or negative that comes to you in your life comes to you in the physical realm through your personal presence, which you are emanating like a light bulb 24/7. When you're in your fear and doubts, you're emanating fear and doubts, and you're attracting, magnetizing whatever matches those fears and doubts. When you're in your power, your confidence, your strengths, gifts, and talents, you're magnetizing that to you. So, the goal of Pinnacle of Presentations is to actually get you to spend more time in the theater that brings you the blessings rather than the doubts and the fears, etc., etc., etc. Okay? Anybody else want to go?
I have a question.
Yeah, Jonathan?
Here in the workshop or here in the world? What do you, what do you mean by that?
Well, when you're in the Pinnacle of Presentations workshop, you're going to be doing some things like the first person who volunteers like Sean did, we'll spend about an hour with them, taking them from whatever level they're at now to like Martin Luther King level in about an hour. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We're going to give them feedback and all that stuff. You know what I mean? And they're going to learn what's called a prelude. That they're going to, so that, like, for example, if they're going to go out and make a presentation of some kind, they'll do that prelude in the workshop until they can do it in their head. And then be, like that. So when they go out in the world, let's say they're going to make a presentation, they can do it in their head and then go on stage and just knock it out of the park. But you got to know that the more you do those kind of things, the more it affects every day. Like, for example, when Kevin Millay became an international superstar, he came up for my birthday because he's a friend of mine, and I said, so Kevin, what do you attribute your success to lately? He said two things. One, if I have any issues with anybody in my life, I always do Ho'oponopono on them. If you don't know what that is, don't worry, I'll tell you later about it. He said, but the magical realms of the Sacred Self Workshop, when you had us do the stepping into God's Self, he says, I do that every morning. Every morning I start my day by stepping into my God Self. And for most of you, any exercise similar to that, even if you don't know how to do the stepping into God Self, even if you just do stance of a warrior, right? Whatever. If you do that every day, it makes a difference. I've taken people who are shyer than anybody in this room. Quiet, shy, no voice, shut down, right? And within 6 months, I went the same person because I had them do certain exercises every day. Because what you're doing is you're retraining your brain. You're creating new neural pathways in your brain. It's like what I said about Jeff last night. When he did the exercise with Seth, he was basically, his body was saying, I have permission. I can come out. I can show up. You do that consistently for a period of time, your body gets it. That's how you build confidence, et cetera, et cetera. And in your case, more money. Good. Acknowledge.
I think the question was also posed, when we're speaking about what we're doing here, is it in the context of just this room, or can it be like what you're doing on Earth? Does it matter?
Well, what I was saying to Jonathan is that we do stuff in the workshops that sometimes is outrageous and silly, etc.
Yeah.
But it's because when you leave the workshop out in the world, there are things like that you can do that work out in the world.
So the idea is then that, like, I guess where the room is the world. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
The room is your, okay, like a football team or a soccer team. They practice so that when they get in the game, they're better.
Okay.
That's a good analogy. Good. Acknowledge. Yeah, go ahead.
This is like when you say, we are here to love, we are here to do the thing.
Yeah.
It becomes very much like the world, where you're born here for this.
Yeah.
Then it's a workshop, then we are here to grow ourselves, are here to
Yeah.
learn more, and then comes different expressions, different words.
Yes.
Because here's something specific that we're looking for.
Yeah.
And then kind of become a generic when it's the world.
That's right. Good job. Acknowledge. Okay, anybody else want to have a chance to do this exercise? No expectation, I'm just checking. Rebecca, you want to do it?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So as soon as she starts talking, 45 seconds, the question is, why are we here? And I'll coach you as you go. Keep calling out more as soon as she starts talking.
Is the only way to be powerful is yell?
For you, absolutely.
Let's have it.
Look. At some point, everybody in this room, when they stop worrying about whether they're loud or not, will become so powerful that their whisper is louder than your yell. My whisper is louder than your yell. So until you get to that point, volume is your friend, believe me. And what you can do, remember last night we taught you the 5 steps and I said you have to hold a vision, okay? So right now, if money is interesting to you and being able to be a gift to your clients is interesting to you, then I want you to hold that vision to do this exercise like if you hit the mark, you get a whole new level of success with your clients. Why are we here?
We are here to love. We are here to shake up the world. We are here to wake up and break free. We are here to love one another. We're here to love the world. We are here to serve. We are here to break free. We are here to
watch like this. Every time you say a sentence, go pow.
We are here to love. Pow.
Yeah.
We are here to break free and let our light shine. We are here to pow. We are here to share our gifts with the world. Pow.
I didn't hear it. Okay, good. Have a seat. Acknowledge. Way to go. I'm very proud of you. See, it would be impossible to do that on a daily, consistent basis and not have your income go up. It would virtually be impossible. You know, not that tough. It's scary in front of people, but you know what? It's doable. You really want your dreams. It's sitting in front of you on a silver platter. And the price is just courage. Wasn't that bad? Acknowledge her. I'll take a few shares. Tell me what you're noticing. Raise your hand, I'll call on you. Emily?
I want to acknowledge Rebecca because that was awesome.
Thank you.
Like, that was just really cool.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
sorry, I don't have any more words than that.
Thank you, acknowledge. Okay. Now, let me remind you. First, I'll take a share from Anastasia.
Well, especially with Rebecca, I felt very enrolled with your energy and with what you were saying, and I was like ready to act. Whatever you would tell me, I would go for it. So
Awesome.
just
Awesome.
job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, now, remember that if you have a red dot on, you get to do this, any exercise at 100%. If you don't have a red dot on, that means that you can or you don't have to. You never have to participate or say anything or do anything ever. Okay? So, if you're brave enough and safe enough, I want you to find somebody in the room that matches your energy. And what you're going to do is the same exact exercise for about a minute, maybe a little bit longer. I'll see how it goes. But I want you to go back and forth. You're going to answer the question, why are we here? And you're going to see if you can challenge each other in a little friendly competition to see who can be more and better and louder and da-da-da-da, okay? For about a minute to 90 seconds, okay? Everybody who wants to do it, and nobody has to except the people with the red dots on, get a partner, stand anywhere in the room, and I'll tell you when to go, okay? Get your partner.
Oh, she does. Do you think I'm powerful enough for you?
You were just incredibly powerful. That's good.
Very quick to.
You're shying away.
I don't know. You're the one kind of shying away.
How many calls?
Until I blow the whistle.
No, I mean for each person.
Go back and forth until I blow the whistle. Everybody goes back and forth until I blow the whistle.
Do we ask the question each time?
No, you just answer the question. Okay. Ready? Go! Have a seat.
Sorry, that was awkward. That was awkward. Don't make me sorry. No, it wasn't. Thank you.
You're supposed to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If you didn't go back and forth, you might want to take a look at how you listen to instructions. Now, for those of you in Movement to Mastery, now when you get to the more advanced program beyond Movement to Mastery, it's called the Advanced Leaders Program for the Movement to Mastery coaches. When you get to that program, doing social guest events is required. But in the Movement to Mastery program, the best tool for accelerating your personal presence is presentations. The best tool for accelerating your personal presence is making presentations, especially if you videotape yourself and then watch the video. Believe me, you will grow rapidly. Okay?
Can you say that sentence one more time? The best tool for
the best tool to accelerate your personal presence is presentations. Especially if you add video feedback. So I have a tool called social guest events, which I designed for beginner presenters. And basically what you do is you gather any 10 people. It doesn't matter if it's your family or if it's a church group or some group you're a part of, or it doesn't matter. I've had people do it in classrooms, you know. You gather any 10 people, and then you use my manual that I designed especially for you, and you do the social guest event. You do the presentation, okay? It's especially designed for beginner presenters, and it includes all the different tools in it that you would want to become really good at making presentations, okay? And for the people in Movement to Mastery, that's just an option. It's not a requirement. But it's up to you. If you want to get good at presentations, send me an email, request it, and I'll email it to you, the manual, okay? Good. Now, any shares before I move on about the last process you just did? Michelle?
This is so amazing that my subconscious is picking up this energy, and I noticed it from last night, how much it shifted my subconscious energy in this from this room. So this stuff is so powerful, you can't believe it.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It really is.
Beautiful. Acknowledged. Anybody else? Anastasia.
I've had a fun personal experience. English is not my first language. And in public speeches, I'm always a little bit afraid that, like, how I'm going to find that word. And in this exercise, I wasn't thinking. I was like, how am I saying such cool things? Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
beautiful. Acknowledged. Anybody else? Okay. Now, last night I told you that this workshop, we offer either discount prices, or some of you even got a free workshop, so that we could do what's called the one potato chip theory. We're going to try to give you so much excitement in this one workshop that you will say, I don't want to just eat one, I want more, okay? So I'm going to tell you a little tiny bit about the two things that we're offering during this workshop, the awakening and movement to mastery. Those are our two main focuses, and just a brief something about them. Now, the awakening is the retreat that I do. And as far as I'm concerned, it's basically the best thing I have to offer anybody. Now, my mentor, Mel Wasserman, when I was a young man, a teenager still, I moved into his therapeutic community called Sea-Doo Foundation. And I lived there for almost 3 years. And I was too young to realize the level of miracle that he was giving us. I know that when I had my first breakthrough, it was off the charts. And it was unbelievable experience. It was completely a life changer. In that experience, which I'll go more into detail on Saturday when we do the slideshow for the awakening. But in that experience, I literally, it was like getting on an elevator in my consciousness and going higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, and higher until all of a sudden, and in that moment, I saw my true self. I saw my divinity. I saw my God self. I saw, magnificence that's indescribable. And I couldn't stop crying. And in that moment, I knew that I was free. I knew exactly what I'd been searching for my whole life. Now, when I left Sea-Doo, I was excited to find the next great thing. Like, what's out there. And so I did everything I could get my hands on. When I read about Werner Erhard's work with Est, I did that. And I did NLP and hypnosis and Native American and transactional analysis and primal therapy. I did everything. And I kept thinking, well, I'll find the next level up, right? Well, it turns out after 40 plus years, I have never found any technology that even comes close to what Mel Wasserman gave me 40 plus years ago. I even have people who, after they do the awakening, go and do every big icon and Tony Robbins and Deepak Chopra and whatever, and they send me these postcards. Just want you to know, nothing like the awakening. So, the awakening is a life-changing experience. Now, a life-changing experience is not the same as movement to mastery, because movement to mastery is basically long-term, consistent support. One is long-term consistent support, and one is a life-changing experience. Oranges and apples are not the same thing. Movement to mastery is long-term consistent support. In other words, you're going to be meeting, twice a month, usually with your group of people. You're going to design during this workshop a whole bunch of systems for supporting yourself, a structure, a no exits game, and you're going to be supporting each other to really work your plan and move towards your dream, to have unprecedented movement. Okay? That's different than a life-changing experience. So I just want to make that clarification for you. Any questions before I move on?
Can you spell the name of that
Yeah,
mentor?
Mel Wasserman.
Mel
M-A-N.
Wasserman, Wasserman. It's a Jewish name. His brother Al Wasserman was the man who helped Arthur Janoff develop primal therapy.
What is primal therapy?
There's a book called The Primal Scream, in which basically Arthur Janoff described that if you get people into their feelings and go below the surface deep enough, that you can literally transform people's lives by going very deep into those subconscious places that releases all of that negative crap. Now, because I've been through so many different technologies, I see the strengths and the weaknesses of every technology I've ever been through. For example, primal therapy, like when we do an awakening style breakthrough, when we do a breakthrough at the awakening, there's a group of people, we've been doing all this stuff to get people safe and safer and safer and safer, and everybody's getting high as a kite, you know what I mean? They're blissed out of their minds, and then I say, okay, who wants a breakthrough? And some brave soul, actually a whole bunch of people volunteer. And then I pick somebody, and I say, okay, what do you want to work on? They say love life or money or whatever, right? Within about 20, 25 minutes, there's not a dry eye in the house. All the participants, all the assistants are like, you were the first breakthrough, huh? And I thought it would be Jeremy, but Spirit said, nope, Vanessa. Great. And everyone in that room is crystal clear that that person's life will never be the same. I mean, it's obvious. So included in that is some very deep, below the surface emotions, like in primal therapy. But one of the weaknesses of primal therapy was that they didn't go to the third or fourth phase of a breakthrough, where they would actually anchor in the new skills and the new declarations. They would just release feelings. So there was a weakness in it. See what I'm saying? Okay. Thank you for the question. Acknowledged. Any other questions about what I'm sharing with you about the awakening or movement to mastery? Okay. Vanessa.
You know how you said apples and oranges?
Oranges?
I would say like bananas and strawberries, because then when you put them together, it's like so good.
It's even better. It's even better.
Chocolate.
Well, I'll never forget when Kevin Millay did the awakening and then he did movement to mastery. In front of the whole class, he was like, Gary, you've got to stop lying to people. They can't do the awakening without movement to mastery. And I said, well, I would love that, Kevin, if I could do that, but you can't sell people on 2 big, expensive programs. You know what I mean? Most people don't do that. I thought I had to enroll people one thing at a time, right? And then about 4 years ago, the board said, well, no, we can do that. We just say, if you're in movement to mastery and you decide you want to do the awakening, all the money you've been paying in movement to mastery can go to the awakening. So you don't have as much to come up with. And then after the awakening, you can start paying for movement to mastery. So you don't have to make a choice. You can do both, right? That's what we do now. Thank you. Acknowledged. Now I'm going to teach you the highest form of accomplishment. I love when Wooders said, These are principles over which you will never get.
Who said that?
Werner Erhard, the founder of EST and then Landmark. How many of you have seen the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? Excellent. Or The Power of Intention by Wayne Dyer. Great. Both of those are high recommendations. Actually, I love it when Tricia told me that a lot of Warner's best stuff is on YouTube. I went, oh man, I started watching everything, right? Now let me ask you a question. If I could how many of you would be interested if I could show you how to work 1/3 less time than you're working now and accomplish 1/3 more than you're accomplishing now? Raise your hand. I'm only going to teach people to raise your hand. Here's how it works. When people get scared, they get busy doing. When people get scared, they get busy doing. They push, they try, they effort, get into burden and struggle and stress and strain. They get very busy, but with little results because they are not chosen in. They are not wholehearted. Because their doing this comes out of their own internal critical parent cracking the whip. Saying things like, you should, you ought to. If you don't, this will happen. You know what I mean? This turns into overwhelm, and typically what they sacrifice is that which matters most, like time with the family, or their passions, or their well-being, or their health. The inner child succumbs and says, okay, I'll do it. I know, it's my job. I said I would do it. Okay. Until the inner brat shows up and completely sabotages. Oh, you want to see me lose some weight? Watch this. 12 donuts. You want to see me quit smoking? 2 packs. Flow is not push. It's not about pushing or making it happen, or the masculine energy of control and strain and stress. This is about the feminine energy of flow and surrender and receiving. If you're in play, you're in flow. If you're in push, you're in stress. If you're in balance and harmony, you're in play. If you're in push, you're in overwhelm. If you're in play, you're working 6-hour days, 4 days a week. If you're in push, you're working 16-hour days, 6 days a week. If you're in play, you fill the family's emotional cups. If you're in push, the family gets sacrificed. If you're in play, you're in unprecedented accomplishment. If you're in push, you kill yourself to survive. So the pinnacle of productivity, the highest form of accomplishment, is to never work. Always play. I don't ever work. Ever. I play. Somebody was asking me, Holly, outside in the hall about something, and I was saying, well, I've learned how to turn my life over to the kid inside of me. And so, like today, I went to a movie at noon. But I might be working on the manual at 2 in the morning. Because the kid is the power. When you slow down and you disengage from reaction, you realize that 20 minutes of setting a true intention accomplishes more than a year's worth of effort, struggle, and burden, and being busy doing that comes from going through the motions. This happens by learning the distinction between the three states that human beings spend every day of their lives. In every day of your life, you're only in one of these three states. Now, when you were, 1 and 2 years old, you were really good at resisting. I remember I'd say to my son, Eli, Eli, no, he'd go, I don't want to know. But then, of course, you learn from the big people that, if you're going to be good, you got to get with the program. Be good. So you learn how to succumb, which is where most human beings spend 80 to 95% of every minute of every day going through the motions. Okay, I'll do it. I'll get up. Okay, I'll drive to work. I can't believe the boss pushed up the deadline and she called in sick and I have to handle the whole thing. Okay, I'll do it. Now you got to know that there is no satisfaction in either one of those categories. There's no joy, there's no fulfillment, there's no satisfaction. There's just being good boys and good girls, and life sucks. Until you figure out a way to get him to choose, you cannot be happy. Now, I learned a great trick when I learned this material. That, like, I used to hate doing laundry. I had some negative association to laundry, right? And I would resist doing laundry. I'd wear the same socks twice, And then somebody taught me that the way to overcome and actually choose is to choose to resist. So I'd wake up on Saturday morning, laundry day, and I'd walk around my living room, and I'd move my emotional energy, and I'd say, I hate laundry! You can't make me do laundry! You'll never take me alive, covers! I'm never doing laundry! I hate laundry! And after about, 8 or 10 minutes, I would blow out the energy. And it'd be like, okay, I can choose. Laundry. Great. I've had Fortune 500 CEOs call me up because they were scared that they were going to actually lose their job because they kept procrastinating about something. And when I taught them this, it saved their career. They overcame procrastination by learning that they could choose to resist so that they could eventually get energy out of their way and then choose and not procrastinate. I remember after enough empowerment dialogues, I realized that the key was to really turn my life over to the kid inside of me. And I was terrified because I thought, crap, if I turn my life over to the kid, I'll never want to wash the dishes. I'll never want to, it's like my life will turn into crap, right? So I remember the day I made the decision, I walked by the dishes and I was like, you want to do the dishes? Nope. And went and did something else, and I came back by again. You want to do the dishes? Nope. A little while later, came back. You want to do the dishes? And it was like, yeah. I was, you want to do the dishes? Yeah. I couldn't believe it. the kid wanted to do the dishes. Who would have guessed? I could have had a V8. Until you can relax, stop pushing, you cannot receive. To whatever degree you spend your day in fear, scarcity, survival, you are pushing, trying, and you create effort, struggle, stress, strain, and overwhelm. Until you learn to get out of fear and into love and play when you are triggered. When you are triggered. When you are upset, ready to rip their face off, you are doomed to spend your whole life in stress with very little results. All of the pushing, stressing, and straining is simply a child within you saying to the world, I'm not bad. I'll work really hard because I'm not bad. I'll work really hard. I'm not bad. That is not relaxing. That is not receiving. Okay. For those of you who were in the last blast off and heard this material before, isn't it interesting how the second time you do this workshop, you hear it on another level?
Yes.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you're not the same. Okay. Get a partner and share with your partner any thoughts or feelings about what I just taught you. Go.
All right. Covered a lot. What did you get?
I'll be back.
I do it. I've done it 10 times earlier. You don't want to wait I don't know if I'm going to it all the time. So I love
Okay, wrap it up. Okay, stop. Now, over the years, what I've learned is that true power is not in your conscious mind, it's in your subconscious mind. Like an iceberg. Only there's no bottom to the iceberg. Now, I'll give you a couple stories that demonstrate the point. When I wanted to assist at the EST 6 day, the trainer came over to my area and he said, "Okay, Gary, what's your goal for this, for the time you're being an assistant and serving at the 6 day workshop?" And I said, "Well, I'm really working on being more centered and present and in my body, like that." He said, "Good. So what's your biggest fear about the role that you have right now?" And I was on the communications thing, so I had 5 phones sitting in front of me. And the phones could be taking calls from, LA, New York, Kansas, wherever. And I said, "Well, I noticed there's 5 phones in front of me. I think if the calls come in one at a time, I'll be fine. But if they come in all at once, that makes me pretty nervous." He goes, "Okay, good, terrific. Let me tell you what you just taught me. What you just taught me is that when you're centered, the calls will come in one at a time. When you get triggered or upset and you're not centered, the calls will come in all at once." And I was like, whoa, wait, what do I have to do with people calling from LA or New York or Kansas? I mean, and he just smiled. He said, "Just watch." By the end of that first day, it blew my mind that my internal state was creating my results. We have no idea how powerful we are in manifesting our life. Another good example was when I was trying to write the book, and I was doing a lot of work with Lori on why some part of me kept avoiding and procrastinating writing the book. And so after one of her sessions, I said, "Okay, darn it, I'm going to put 2 hours in a day on the book. And as soon as I get done with my day, I'm going to put the 2 hours in." Well, all of a sudden, I had 14-hour days. Like things were happening, crises were being created so that I had to work like 14-hour days. And I was like, what? And after like 2 or 3 weeks, I was like, what the heck is going on? And then this thought hit me, could this have anything to do with the book? So I said, well, okay, I'll make my emergency phone calls first thing, and then I'll put the 2 hours in. And then I'll do my day. And immediately, my days went back to normal days. Immediately. So whatever's going on subconsciously is manifesting on a very powerful level.
Since the last workshop, I had a problem because I have to do a meditation, a practice from Buddhism, and I'm Buddhist. And I always have problems of doing it, and always like resisting and not doing it or anything. And then when you said that, do things the first thing in the morning, or the first thing in the day. And then it's so funny how the rest of the day you don't feel guilty, you don't feel anything, you just feel, oh, I did it. And then it flows.
Yeah. Right?
What did
Acknowledge.
What did you say? Whatever's going on subconsciously is what?
Is manifesting at a very powerful level. I just gave you a couple of my own personal examples. But my point is that that's happening to you all the time, every day, 24/7. Wherever your consciousness is what you are bringing into your life. That's why the game of what we call inner work is about learning how to steer and manage your consciousness. When you get upset and triggered and life doesn't fit your pictures, how quickly can you get out of that theater and into the other theater? How quickly can you do whatever it takes to move to the other theater? That's why I wrote the book. The 7 things that human beings do that bring them out of the theater of fear into the theater of love and play. That's the whole point of the book. What are the 7 things that people do that get them out of fear and into play? Because there's only 7 things. But if you don't know what they are, you only get there by accident. Okay. Pair and share with each other what I just taught you about manifesting. Go.
My internal state. Okay, wrapping up.
Now, a quick review on the power of structure. Energy always follows structure. So the question is, how vital is the type of structure that you create for your new company, your team, with your family, with a relationship, or with yourself? Do you want a structure that will be haphazard or impeccable? When it's important to rise to higher ground, what is the quality of structure that you want? See, God walks up to us and gives us a choice. The greatness of your dreams or your petty hang-ups. The greatness of your dreams or your doubts and fears. Go ahead, choose. Now you know which one you choose typically, right? It ain't the dreams. I look at people as buckets.
Oh, thanks.
You know, you guys are very cute buckets. Why does it serve us to be very committed to keeping our agreements and being our word? Because it focuses the energy. Because it prevents us from leaking out our personal power. Most people are working really hard to fill their bucket with blessings. Money and love life and, good stuff. The trouble is the bucket at the bottom has holes in it. Some are little and some are bigger. So they work their butts off and they keep leaking out their personal power. When we get scared, we act out our defenses, our patterns, our non-working behaviors that we are truly committed to in the absence of any larger commitments. You are truly committed to your non-working behaviors unless you are having larger commitments that you are committed to. It is only our commitment to our agreements that counters us acting out our fears. You will be committed to your fear unless you have a solid commitment to your love. If you're committed to your love, your dreams, your success, you are completely committed to keeping your agreements. In essence, we keep our agreements because it makes life work 10 times easier. I don't have time to go into detail. I say this sometimes in the relationships course when I talk about agreements, that over the last 4 decades or more, learning about the power of keeping my agreements has been a never-ending lesson for me. It taught me how, if I go to a party on the weekend and I want to be very insecure and very self-conscious, all I have to do is break enough agreements during the week and I will be like this.
Then you're a basket, not a bucket.
Basket case. I've learned over the decades that I'm very careful about what comes out of my mouth. That's why the first assignment in Movement to Mastery is to use the green light checklist. By the way, if you're in Movement to Mastery and you've been saying yes to people, I was so proud of Sarah because I'd ask her if she could babysit for Derek, whatever. She'd go, "No, thank you, Gary. I will check my green light checklist and then I will get back to you. And I'd be, way to go, Sarah! I'm so proud of you. If you're in Movement to Mastery and you're not saying no to people until you check your green light checklist, don't lie to me that you want to change your life. In our culture, if you're somewhat intelligent and somewhat capable, you are in overwhelm. You don't know how to manage the moment of chase. So you're always juggling too many balls and getting buried by life because you're not good at managing the moment of choice. People say, hey, you want to do the thing? It's going to be really fun. Yeah, okay. You just react. I'm extremely careful about what comes out of my mouth. If Alice asked me to go to a party, I'll say, I'll see you when I get there. If Jeff says, could we meet and talk about this or that? Can we have lunch together? I'll say, okay, why don't we say 11:45-ish? Because I don't want to be nervous about going to lunch with somebody and having to be on time. If Todd says, I've got a client that's a corporate client, I'd really like you to meet him, and I know if I say noon or 1 or 2, I have to be there at noon or 1 or 2, I will be there at 1:45. I will leave margin. I will leave 10 minutes to get out of my house. Because people don't realize it takes you 10 minutes to get out of your house. If you're like me and you're spacey and you always forget stuff, you got to go back in a couple of times to get all the stuff you need. I'm spending a few minutes right now, but I'm telling you, I could literally spend all day teaching you the advanced levels. Right now, most likely in our culture, you are, and if agreements was math, you know addition and subtraction. There is calculus available when it comes to keeping agreements. I'm not kidding. It's amazing how little you know about the power of being your word. The Hawaiians know better. They're very careful about what comes out of their mouth. One time, Christina, we were taking a hike around the lake up at Brighton, and the kids want to go up this steep cliff, and Christina goes, "Oh, now watch me sprain my ankle or something," right? And we didn't catch it in time, and within like 2 minutes, she sprained her ankle. Because she wasn't conscious of how what comes out of your mouth is vital. So, Movement to Mastery is a very high-level game. It's a game called No Exits, a game where your commitment to your vehicle of support is total. You could use the program called Movement to Mastery to choose something in your life that you have never let yourself choose before. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to answer sincerely, and I want you to call it out loud. Everybody, all at once. Don't have to raise your hand. Answer this question sincerely. What is on higher ground that you have not let yourself yet choose?
Love.
Self-love.
Everything.
Abundance.
What is on higher ground? Dreams is vague. I want it to be specific. What is on higher ground that you have never yet let yourself choose?
Personal power.
Be as specific as possible.
Abundance in everything in my life.
Gary.
What is on higher ground that you have never yet let yourself choose? Call it out.
Peace.
Spiritual power. Self-love.
Speaking my truth.
Freedom. Our job is to design creatively and enroll ourselves into one simple idea, that of support. Support that is bigger than our non-working patterns or mechanisms. How rarely do we take that opportunity? I know the level of your functioning or dysfunction with one question. 0 to 100, rate yourself. You don't got to call out the answer, just say it to yourself in your own head. How good are you at keeping your agreements? 0 to 100. How good are you at keeping your agreements? At being your word? The foundation of support is the agreements that we choose to make. Not succumb, not resist. The foundation of support is the agreements which we choose to make. I love it that you get this at a different level. The foundation of support is the agreements that we choose to make. Every year in Movement to Mastery, I watch some of you sail through the program with the greatest of ease. And some of you will create a very difficult birth, bordering on hell. Either way, you will come out the birth canal, whether it's a 1-hour birth or a 30-hour birth. Who do you suspect will have an easier time in the program? Who might have a tougher time in the program? If you like easier, choose, don't succumb. Choose to dive in wholeheartedly. Choose to keep your agreements. So that your petty hang-ups don't keep you from manifesting the greatness of your dreams. Now, I'm going to give you a 15-minute break, and over the break, I would like you to share with anybody any thoughts or feelings about what I just taught you, okay? Take a 15-minute break. Who's on time? Who's timekeeper? Okay, good. Thank you, Ariel. Take a 15-minute break. The greatness of your dreams.
Yeah.
I just turned 19. And then, yeah, so, okay, wait, I have to tell you, so it's
So, does that the intention that I set
That's one of the
because I remember
Yeah, you did it. I was very well.
number.
I called you. Did I call you?
I can find out.
Oh, I have Sure you do. Absolutely.
Oh, shit.
I was so proud of you when you volunteered. Did you surprise yourself?
Yeah. You know I surprised you.
Yes.
Wait, so what is it?
Write that shit down.
Bravery.
Okay. Dang, okay. Okay. So is the dancing just like go crazy, or is there like
So what is the key for you?
okay?
What's the key for you? What's your
Like whatever you want, you can do it. I love it for you to go alcohol, no concentration. And that's like their okay.
I had a separate.
Whoa, okay.
okay.
Bottom line, I experienced combat and sexual whatever I went through, 10 years lost my life. And my sleep was affected in a way that before I got on sleep machine, I was sleeping and after I got on that, I worked until like 8 years. They were cheering when they got to where I said interruptions. No, interruptions. Privilege. Like every hour. Your body I just like, nope. I wouldn't get into like at all. Or I'd like go approach it. Like even like you'll feel like it's safe. I had so good access. While I was walking and I almost passed out. That's why I want to know. Unconsciously create from our subconscious. It's really interesting because that's the work I do. Is your body so basically, muscle and then oh goodness, it's so and then it's like, well, most she was just like, I never got to do it when I was 20. So I want to do it now. And now she's looking for it. And it makes it very so she does this one. And then she is amazing. Like not just because she's my mom, but she's a real they'll pay her to like do the whole walls in it. Just like she's like oh yeah, she did sorry. It's good. I just gone back. Then another time, yes. As soon as it goes up on Facebook, I realize that a lot of stuff is the experience and it's traumatic enough that it's conscious. I have like a baseball. They're under lock and key. All separated and like I know that carefully take out
I don't wake up with
Hey, Zen? Actually, I've already talked to All right. One minute! It's gotta be that loud. It's gotta be louder than the conversation. Make sure somebody goes and rounds up all the people who are missing. Are you doing something? Okay, thank you. The people in Movement to Mastery got the flyer I handed out about Chantel, right?
Right.
So if you haven't gotten this flyer about Chantel before I make the announcement, raise your hand so I can give you one. And I'll tell you about her in a minute. Who hasn't gotten one yet? Okay. And I'll put the rest of them up here on the glass table so that you can grab them if you want one. Very quickly, as far as I'm concerned, Chantel is one of the best intuitives. She calls herself an angel reader, as far as I'm concerned, in the country. And I've been to her several times, and a lot of my best people have been to her several times. And I'll just tell you one quick story. Many years ago, at the Awakening, Archangel gave me a sort of light. Archangel Michael gave me a sort of light and stuck it in my body. So when I went to see Chantel, this is like, a decade or more later, with an intuitive, give them any information until I see what they got, right? So I sat down and we did our niceties, and then she goes, "Do you know that Archangel Michael is one of your archangels?" And I said, "Yes." She goes, "Do you know that he put a sword of golden light in your body?" And I was like, "Okay, she's good." You know? And at one point she said, well, she said, because of the process you've been through recently, like I was doing empowerment dialogues like 2 or 3 times a week for about 3 months because I wanted to really deal with an issue in my life. And she said, because of the process you've been in recent months, you've got 2 new archangels. And Uriel wants me to give you a message from him. And she sits up like this and she goes, "It's done." And I burst into tears. And while I was getting visions of what was possible for me now, she was literally saying the things I was seeing in my mind's eye. And then she said, Michael says it's time for you to learn how to use the sword now. So he says, take it out of your body and put it in a sheath on your left or right side. So I put it on my left side. And she said, he wants you to know that when you're doing a workshop, take the sword out, declare it for the light, tap the earth 3 times, and then hit the 4 directions of the room, which will help you keep negative energies out and accelerate or magnify your intentions for the group. When you want to help an individual, do the same ceremony, but cut the cords below their feet, because that's how human beings stay attached to their barriers. So when I do the awakening, and after the first breakthrough in front of the room, people will get in small groups, and I'll pick one person from each group to do the next round of breakthroughs. And after they know who they're going to do, the participants come to the center, the breakthrough leaders come from the edges, and then they stand behind the participants with their hands on their shoulders. We play a beautiful song, and everybody in silence sends their prayers or their intentions for the people going through the breakthrough and to support the breakthrough leaders. And when they do that, I do the sword of golden light, and I cut the cords below their feet. Now, it turned out that when Chantel told me this, it was literally the day before the awakening. And when we were done, I said, Chantel, I hope this isn't bad news, but you know, this is your awakening. She goes, yeah, I know. So she jumped into the awakening the day before the awakening. And, you know, with a lot of spiritual tools, you don't see much happening. You know, you just take it on faith that it's working. But it's not dramatic. But I wanted to see what would happen when I did the first breakthrough in front of the room. So when she was in the middle of her breakthrough, kind of whimpering and crying, I quickly went off stage, went behind the music table, and I did my little ceremony with the sword. And I came out, and as subtle as I could, I got behind her so she couldn't see me, and I cut the cords below her feet. And she was like, and then I cut the cord. She goes, ah! I like this sword. And I forgot that I was in a group of energy workers. And so on the break, 3 of them came up to me and goes, hey, where'd you get the sword of golden light? And I forgot they can see that stuff. Anyway, I've had many great readings from Chantel. One time I walked in, I sat down, she goes, I didn't know your mom died. You know, she's standing right there, right behind you. You know. Anyway, this is a fundraiser that we're doing. The Movement to Mastery Coaches, it's actually for them, but everybody's included because we use it as a fundraiser for the awakening. Because when the awakening comes around, some people will be really wanting to get to the awakening. They're having trouble manifesting the money. So we like to do fundraisers to kind of support them. Like last year, Sarah got in at the last moment because people were willing to donate to her cause, that kind of thing. Okay. I think in your handouts, I think maybe it's the last page, there's something that says great income expanding the gift. If you're on a budget, but you don't mind putting in time instead of money, that's something you might want to look at and consider, because if you sign up for the Movement to Mastery program, you can actually trade in time up to half of your program. So instead of paying $250 or $295, you can pay half of that and do the rest by putting in time. If you're willing to do the stuff that's on our list. Okay? Great. And I want to remind the people who are already in Movement to Mastery, I want you to get serious and dedicated about checking your green light checklist and saying no to everybody and telling your loved ones and your friends. And if your boss is that kind of guy, tell your boss, or her, that you want to do this because it's a real important exercise. You're going to learn how to put the clutch in so that you can actually look before you say yes. And the most important question on here is, if I say yes to this, what else in my life am I willing to let go of in order to say yes to this? If you're not willing to do that, believe me, you're going to stay in overwhelm for the rest of your life. Okay, I need those handouts. Where are they? Right here. Everybody pull out your handouts. On page 7 and 8, whoops, 6 and 7 are quick, short descriptions of the various workshops that are in Movement to Mastery. I want you to look at those workshops, give a quick, brief description, or
Gary, it's actually different pages. It's page 3 and 4.
no, those are the benefits.
Oh.
Page 6 and 7 has the paragraphs. I wanted to read the paragraphs.
Oh, okay.
Todd? Todd evidently never got a handout. Would somebody get him some handouts? I guess she's going to print you some. Matter of fact, until she does, here, take that one. It's not stapled, so just, they're loose. Okay, I want everybody to look through these various workshops and call out for me anything that you would say, like, let's imagine that you're a movie critic and you're going to rate the different workshops like 1 to 5 stars. If you see a workshop that for you looks like a 5-star, I want you to raise your hand and call it out. And then I will give you a quick ditty about that workshop. Okay, Jonathan?
Empowerment dialogue.
Empowerment dialogue. In a few minutes, you're going to see a demonstration of an empowerment dialogue. It is a layman's version of Gestalt therapy. Fritz Perls discovered that when you have 2 chairs facing each other and you let all the voices in your head talk out loud, it brings things from subconscious to conscious. So it turns out that it's an incredibly powerful process, as you will see in a few minutes. Okay? But what I love about empowerment dialogue is that if you have trouble making a decision, especially a big decision like should I get married, should I leave my job and start my private practice, any big decision, if you have time to do this process, you never have to make a bad decision for the rest of your life. Because once you let all the voices talk out loud, once you do that process, you will come to a resolve. You will know exactly what is true for me and what makes me feel resolved and complete. I mean, imagine that. I mean, how many times in your life have you made decisions and woke up down the road going, that was a really bad decision? Right?
Never.
Just for a moment, I want you all to think about the worst decision that you ever made in your life, and as soon as you have it, raise your hand. The worst decision you ever made in your whole life. Because the one thing that follows decisions is consequences. Right? Imagine if you never had to make a bad decision again. And of course, sometimes you don't have time to do the process, so you got to make a quick decision. But if you have time to do the I think that nobody should ever get married. I think it should be legal that you can't get married or divorced until you do this process. Believe me, divorce rates would go down. Okay, somebody else. Let's acknowledge Jonathan for sharing that. Somebody else. Okay, Mary?
Magical realms of the sacred self.
Have you done that workshop yet? Oh,
Mary still love that workshop.
okay, very quickly. I was in the UNS with some friends, and new levels always terrify me. So I was up against a new level, and I wanted to do some processes to kind of get myself through it. So I did some of the stuff I knew how to do. But then I remembered somebody saying that they turned everything over to God. And I went, I've never done that before. I should try that. So I turned this issue over to God, and I did a kind of a ceremony, you know. And when I got done, I noticed I was really high. I went, it's pretty good. So I turned some more stuff over to God. I got even higher. By the time I turned everything over to God, I was so blissed out. I was not in this realm. I was in another realm. And when I got back to the fire, it was almost dark, and I was so on fire, they couldn't shut me up. You know, like I'd see the moon, I'd go, the moon! You know? And then I have a revelation. I go, oh, this is how it is. And then I burst into tears. I go, thank you, God, right? And then I'd get centered again, and then I'd hear the Moody Blues. Oh, I love you, you know, revelation. And then, thank you, God. And then I get centered again. And after about, 45 minutes or an hour or something, all of a sudden a lightning bolt hit me, and I realized, oh my God, these 4 steps that I keep doing over and over and over again are not an expression of a high experience. These 4 steps are a vehicle for human beings to get to the highest states of being available to human beings. So when I got done, I couldn't wait to get home and call my friends up who I knew could look in my eyes and be present, not get all squirrely when they have to look in somebody's eyes, right? And I couldn't wait to practice these 4 steps. So we started doing it in the evening, and at about 1 in the morning, we go, man, something magical is happening. We got to do this all day long. We can't just cut it off. So we'd spend a whole day, and we'd go to the UNS or someplace, you know, and I would get so blissed out of my mind that I began identifying the different levels, the different territories. So the first level is to get centering and to do your best to get to absolute zero. That's absolute zero is the most direct contact with spirit. Literally, it is the place of most direct contact with spirit. Okay? Then above that is a place I called the river of light, because it's like a flood of revelation. It's like you go, oh, I got to write that down. And then you look at the other shore, oh, I got to write that down. Then you look at the other shore, oh, I got to write that. It's like a flood, and like revelation after revelation. Then you get to a place called the magical view, and I called it that because it's like a place that is so blissed out that it's beyond words. How many of you had an experience where it's so good it's beyond words? Oh, who's missing? Who's missing?
Allie went home.
Oh, Allie,
Yeah.
right?
And
I gave her
Sharice.
permission.
And Alice.
Sharice left.
And Sharice. Okay, good. Thank you. Do me a favor and move yourself in, and let's take out the extra chairs. So above the magical view is a place I labeled as heaven because it feels like a minute before that you weren't sure if you're in heaven, but the moment you cross that threshold, it's like it doesn't matter where you are, you're in heaven. You know? You're in heaven. And then above that is a place I call God's self. And it's indescribable. It literally comes out the small of your back. No, it kind of goes like this, and then out the middle of your back, and then looks at the world from above your head, and it's indescribable. God's self. Yeah, I didn't know that until a couple of years after I discovered this. Then they showed me, oh, well, that's Kundalini. Okay. Thank you. Acknowledge. Somebody else. Pick a different one. Michael.
I have a question about the evening meetings.
Yeah.
Are those currently happening? What exactly are they and when?
Yeah. If you look on pages at 3 and 4, that has the benefits and the outcomes and like that, it will describe some really good examples of the evening meetings. Basically, you meet twice a month usually, right? From 6:45 to 9:45, except during 30 days of peak performance, which goes from 6:30 to 10:30. And you basically meet with the people who are in Movement to Mastery, and that's when you get in small groups and you support each other and you also learn great content. If you look at some of those examples, it'll show you some of the examples of the things you'll be learning. Basically, think of it like this. There are so many great topics that I don't have enough time in the Movement to Mastery program to do all of them. So you guys get basically the cream of the crop. Yeah, just look at some of those examples. And it's actually one of the best reasons to do the program is because of the twice a month support that this group gives you to keep working your plan and do your no exits game and let you have the loving, sweet feedback when they think you're fooling yourself, you know. It's an essential part of support. Like it wouldn't be the same program without those evening meetings. Okay? Let's acknowledge Michael. Okay,
Jacob.
somebody else?
That was Jacob.
Oh, sorry, Michael and Jacob. Sorry. Great, thank you. Oh, Jacob's name tag is underneath his jacket. Okay, good. Emily, another one?
I'm super curious about the 30 days to peak performance and if you can give examples of what some people do or if that's something that we just get to wait and see.
Okay, good.
Is it a surprise?
If you ask anybody who's been through Movement to Mastery, they will tell you that 30 days to peak performance is truly one of the highlights of the Movement to Mastery program. Okay. Like I remember Vanessa, after she got back from her 3rd level stretch, she was literally not the same human being. Like she sat in the chair and I went, what have you done with Vanessa? You know what I mean? Like that, okay? And basically what it is that you take your same things that you're working on in Movement to Mastery, your same dream, your same all that stuff, and you just, like for example, you call your phone buddy every day. You know, what did you do yesterday? What do you want to do better today? You know what I mean? But the support is so intense that you will have unprecedented movement. And then we do some incredible stretches. And like one of them I can tell you about is like you're going to feed the homeless in Pioneer Park. And there's going to be in-house stretches, which are incredibly fun and silly and outrageous. Okay? I mean, you're all going to love those. And then there are some stretches you do out in the public that are outrageous. It will be absolutely one of the best things of your whole life.
Thank you.
You bet. Acknowledge. Anybody else? Any other workshops that are on the pages there? Jeff?
Lava breakthrough.
Yeah. When you get done with the awakening, you're going to realize that the awakening style breakthrough is one of the most powerful things you've ever witnessed. You know, and you're going to experience it, so you're going to like, whoa. And then we say, okay, good, if you want to go to lava, you can learn how to do those breakthroughs on each other. In other words, instead of paying me or Lori $500 to do a breakthrough on it, right? You can go to lava, learn how to do it, and then pair up with Fisher or whoever's been through lava and do them on each other for the rest of your life for free, right?
Or you can pay me
Good girl.
If you've been through lava, if you've been through that workshop, would you do me a favor and stand up so they can see the people who've done it? Great. Now look around the room. Those are the people who've been through lava. Okay? And if you ask any of them, they'll give you some interesting stories about how they've given each other breakthroughs, right? Or like Sean, you did a breakthrough recently with Seth, which was powerful, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, because he's been through the awakening before. They can't do it on anybody until they've been through the awakening. Thank you. Have a seat. Somebody else. Oh, let's acknowledge Jeff. Okay. Somebody else. Any other weekend workshops or things on those 2 pages?
Success beyond sales.
Success Beyond Sales. That is coming up at the end of September. You know what? I'm sorry, not September, end of February, beginning of March. Look, I'm going to pass this flyer out. You guys can take one, unless you already got one in Movement to Mastery. Okay, go ahead and pass these out, okay? Jonathan, here's what I'll say right now, because I'll talk more about it a little bit later, okay?
Okay.
Success is enrollment. It's not like enrollment. It's not similar to enrollment. It's not akin to enrollment. Success is your ability to enroll people into your ideas, your product, your services, into you. This course, by the way, there's a DVD I have, and it has 6.5 hours of that course. It cost us $40,000 to make that video, okay? And it's $150, but while you're in a course, you can buy it for $75, okay? It captures some of the best parts of that workshop, okay? That course costs $1,500, okay? The reason it's worth it is because it would virtually be impossible to take that course and apply the tools and not significantly increase your income. Okay? And you will learn phenomenal stuff in that workshop that is not in any other workshop. And I'll give you just one quick example. My ex-wife, Megan Oberer, when we were married, she really thought she'd done all these other great workshops, and I was like, I've seen everything, you know. And finally, one day, I looked her in the eyes, I said, you have not seen the awakening. You want to do it, right? She got it, so she did it. And then she was so excited after it, and she started telling everybody, her friends and her family, and you got to do this, right? And one day I came downstairs, and she was so pissed off. I said, what's going on, Megan? She goes, I've told everybody about the awakening, and nobody's wanting to do it. I said, you know what? The Success Beyond Sales workshop's coming up in a couple of months. I think you should do that, right? You'll get a lot out of it, right? Well, what you're going to find out in that workshop is that I'm going to give you a script, a sample sales script. And you're going to go through with a yellow magic marker, and you're going to mark out the places in the script that make you nervous, that you get squirrely about. Like for some of you, it's just inviting somebody to have a conversation about whatever thing you're trying to sell. I did this great workshop, and I thought I'd see if you want to get together and have lunch and let me share it with you so you can see if it's your cup of tea. That scares some of you. For some of you, because you got scarcity issues, it's when you have to ask for the money. Oh, let me tell you how much it costs. Woo! So every one of you have places in that script where you get squirrely, where you go unconscious, where you avoid, and you go into your Wilbur. And your vibration when you're in Wilbur is not enrolling. It pushes people away.
And you wonder why you work your butt off, but you don't get any sales. So here's what it boils down to. The only thing between you and your dreams is the conversations that you don't want to have. So when I said that, Megan's light bulb went on, and I said, if you can discover what that is, and instead of avoiding it, if you can say that thing that you don't want to say, it will affect not just when you sell people, it will affect every area of your life. Well, she got it like nobody's business. And we do a breakthrough in that workshop. The professional facilitators will do a breakthrough on you. Matter of fact, I'm going to let some of the coaches, if they want to, learn how to do that breakthrough and do it on people in the workshop, right? Which would be great for you. You know, to break through other people, it will help you. So during her breakthrough, Megan got it. What she didn't want to say was, I want you to do this. Now, it's different for all of you. That's her thing. It wasn't your thing. There's something that you don't want to say. Like when you go to ask for the money, you have all these negative associations about being some insurance salesperson. They're going to think I'm a greedy or something. You know what I mean? She got it that if she would just say to people, I want you to do this, her vibration would change and she would get into the self that is enrolling. She had 11 people in the next awakening. 11. Ask her. It changed her life, her private practice, her abilities as a breakthrough leader. I mean, for years, she was my most dependable breakthrough leader. If I had a tough cookie in the awakening, I'd give him to Megan, man. She'll handle it. Okay. Get a partner and share with your partner anything I've shared about these workshops. Go.
Especially when there's a specific
One of the things that I
Okay, wrapping up. Okay, go ahead and hand them out.
Well, I think they just have it. Does anybody not have this horizontal handout? Anybody not have it?
Everybody's got it? Great.
Okay. If you don't, will you raise your hand? Yeah.
This is the one that I told you to make copies of last night. Don't fill it out in pen. Make copies and fill it out in pencil. Okay? Now, the people who are already in Movement to Mastery, I want to remind you that at the post meeting on next Thursday, you're going to be picking your team captain and your small group leaders. So I just want you to be conscious of that. Okay? The horizontal handouts are the structure that can assure your success. So you want to make copies and start filling it out, and we'll give you more details tomorrow about how to fill it out. And Friday, some of you will get an interview with Lori if you haven't already had an interview. Those of you who've already had an interview can have a second interview by doing it with each other. Okay? You're going to be doing the interview again with each other and polishing your plan. Right? If you haven't yet had an interview, you're going to get to do that with Lori, and you'll have three choices. If you haven't had an interview yet, but you paid in front, then it's already covered. You know, your whole payment. Okay? If you're on payments for Movement to Mastery, you'll either do a donation with some of our facilitators, or you'll pay some of them $35, or you'll pay Lori $65 and we'll cover the rest. Okay? Believe me, each of those prices is a bargain. Okay? So these horizontal handouts are your structure of support. And you want to make copies and start filling it out in pencil and ask the people who are in Movement to Mastery if you have questions or if you need their advice, if you want to get clarity on how to fill it out. I want to make sure you understand how to do that. Okay? In a moment, I'm gonna do an empowerment dialogue demo, so I'm gonna need a couple of directors' chairs up here in front.
Want to do the video?
I don't have time. Thank you. Now, one incredibly fortunate person is going to get to do an empowerment dialogue, which is a phenomenal process. Thank you. For healing and reprogramming or resolving conflicts, inner conflicts, making decisions, etc., etc. So before I pick a person, I'm going to give you some principles. All of life speaks to us in messages. One sentence, bottom line messages. Every person, every situation, every battle, every joy speaks to us in one sentence, bottom line messages. Now, your current circumstances are always and only an exact reflection of your internal experience. The people in your world you created to reflect back to you various aspects of yourself that are in battle or negotiations with each other. So, for example, my favorite story about this, two favorite stories, is Rebecca and Christina. Rebecca called me up one day and she goes, Gary, I know you say that we create everything in our world, but you know who I am. Now, Rebecca used to work for the mayor. She's like, everybody in her office thought she walked on water. She's really amazing, right? She goes, you know who I am, so why would I create getting arrested by a cop in the mall? And I said, well, I don't know, but boy, that sounds juicy. Let's do an empowerment dialogue on it, right? Took all of about 5 to 10 minutes for her to get how the cop represented a voice that was in her head. And if you don't listen to the voice spiritually, it goes to the intellectual level, then it goes down to the emotional level, and then it goes to the physical level, either as a person someone in your life that sounds like a jerk or a disease. So, very quickly, she found out what the cop represented in her head that she didn't want to listen to. Same thing with Christina. Christina, her mom, Laura, did this workshop, loved it, got home, and Christina goes, Mom, she was kind of in tears. I'm a straight A student, and everybody in my class says that this teacher is picking on me. And I don't know why she's picking on me. And Laura goes, oh, let's do an empowerment dialogue. Let's find out what she did. So very quickly, she gets Christina to see what she represents in her own head. And they come to a resolve. And the next Monday, when Christina goes to school, this teacher walks up to her and says, Christina, I honestly don't know why I've been picking on you, but you know what? I feel terrible about it, and I want to make it up to you. So I'm going to do this and this and this and this for you. She literally transformed her teacher by resolving the energy that was in her heart and her guts. And I've had many breakthroughs. My car engine breaking down 3 times in 6 weeks, costing me $2,000 every time. Before I went, what am I doing? I got to do an empowerment dialogue. One of the most powerful breakthroughs of my whole life. Okay, so if you're brave enough and safe enough to have a life-changing experience, stand up. I love it when the new kids stand up. It's like, man, courage, courage. Yeah, it looks like I'm choosing people, but really the group is choosing them through me. Okay, whoever the group knows on a deeper level, who will do the most good for the group. Michael, come on up. Acknowledge him. That's fine. Pick a chair, any chair. Pick a chair. Okay, now I want you to tell me about a circumstance of your life that you would rather be different. A situation that you don't want, an unwanted circumstance. Oh, can we start the video camera over again so that this is a separate clip?
Yeah.
Thank you, Alice.
Make sure it shows me.
By the way, if this turns out to be a really good one, then we might use it on the website. But, it will depend on,
No pressure, Michael.
No pressure. It's like it's gonna be. I got a pull out of Zola from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That was an empowerment dialogue.
Okay, an unwanted circumstance, something you would, if you could wave your magic wand, would be different in your life.
I've stressed and overwhelmed a lot of times with not how do I say this? I guess it's just I wish that I didn't feel nervous about I can't even say it out loud. It's like so whoa.
Big.
Like money is a really big problem for me. I like always am stressed about it and I'm always
Is someone taking notes?
like
Notes.
Is someone taking notes?
Oh, who will take notes for him?
Jacob said
Jacob
he would.
is. Awesome.
Cool. Thank you, Jacob. So if money's the issue, there's nobody else in this group that relates to that problem. Maybe we should pick somebody else. Is he perfect for you guys?
Yes, Michael, you're always perfect.
And it's fun. I was sitting. I had no idea that it was just gonna come. I had like 3 other ideas that like, this is what it's gonna be about. But then I just sat down. I was like, no, that's for sure the #1 thing that I've always
excellent.
Like, yeah,
excellent. Okay, good. So here's what I want you to do. I want to put money in the chair.
Okay.
Okay? And I want you to point your finger and I want you to say, money, you do this to me, and you do that to me, and you do this to me, and you do that to me, okay? And then, Jacob, if you have trouble, if he's going too fast, just say, repeat that, okay?
Money, you make me stressed. You make me anxious. You make me not enjoy the life that I'm living right now. Money, you make me frustrated. Money, you make me depressed. Money, you make me ungrateful. Money, you make me...
Go back to depressed. Say that about 3 or 4 times, and just every time you say it, pause and just notice what you notice.
Money, you make me depressed.
Pause, then just notice what you notice. Then say it again.
Money, you make me depressed. Money, you make me depressed. Money, you make me feel less than I am. Money, you make me feel unvaluable. Money, you make me feel less than others. Money, you make me feel judgmental of myself. Money, you make me feel bad about myself. Money, you make me feel resentful. Money, you make me feel depressed.
What do you notice?
There's lots in there that I had no idea it was about there.
It wasn't conscious.
Mm-mm.
Good, now say this to money, say, we're going to switch it now because we're going to have you own your projections. So, all of that is really you talking to Michael. So, with each item, I'm going to have Jacob remind us what it is, and I'll have you say that item, but you're going to say to Michael instead of money.
Okay.
Like, Michael, you make me feel depressed. And then every time you say one of them, I'm going to say, okay, good. How does Michael do that? What does he say in order to do that to you? Okay? Go ahead.
Can you remind me of the first one, Jake?
You stress me out.
Michael, you stress me out.
Good. So what does he say that stresses you out?
Michael says you need to be making this much money. You need to have your business together. You need to know exactly what your competitors are doing. You need to be at the same level as the people that have been doing it for 20 years. You need all this stuff. And that stresses me out so much.
Good. Go to the next one, Jacob.
Anxious.
Michael, you make me feel anxious.
Good. What does he say to you to make you feel anxious?
If you don't make this much money, you are not going to be able to do all the things you want. You are not going to have the life that you want. You're not going to be able to have the stuff or the things or the vacations or the fun in life that you want.
Good. Go to the next one.
No enjoyment in life.
Michael, you give me no enjoyment in life.
Good. What does he say to make you not feel like you can enjoy life?
He tells me that I just have to be so focused on what I should be doing, what I need to be doing, what takes the play out of life. You make me not enjoy it because I have to feel like I'm always working, or I can never just take a break for myself.
Good. Go to the next one.
Depression.
Michael, you make me depressed.
Good. What does he say to make you depressed?
You compare me to other people. You pit me against other people. In my mind, you make me feel less than what I know I am. You make me feel less than
What does he say is wrong with her?
You make me feel like I don't work hard enough.
What does he say is wrong with her?
You are not a hard worker. You are lazy. You are not committed. You are lazy. You don't know how to work hard. You procrastinate all the time. You don't keep with your goals. You don't keep with your commitments.
What does all that imply is wrong with him?
You are not committed. You don't want your goals. You're not willing to work for your goals. You don't work for your goals.
What does all of that imply is wrong with him?
You are not good enough. You are.
There we go. Keep going. You're not good enough. What else?
You are not worth all the things that you want. You are not. You are not worth the things that you want in this life.
Yes. You're not enough and you're not worth it. What do you notice?
Just if I'm going back to last night when the share that I had after the process that we did. It's just just subconsciously I didn't realize that was happening. I didn't realize that I had slowly over the past 2 years since the last festival I did just let myself slip more and more into the thoughts of not deserving it, not being good enough, not being worth it.
Good. Now, come back over here. Okay?
I feel like heavy, like, but also like,
yeah.
I think it's like out of body experience.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah. So now, I want you to be that mean Michael that's saying to him, you're not worth it. You're not good enough. You've never been enough. What the hell is wrong with you? All those voices. Okay?
Okay.
Talk it to him.
Just say all those things to him?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how you make him depressed. Your job is to make him depressed.
Michael, you are not worth it. You are not good enough. You are not worth the time. You are not worth the time of day. You don't deserve you don't deserve any of the success of this world. You don't deserve the things that you want. You don't deserve the things that you need. You are not good enough to get the things that you want or need.
Yeah. Try to say you're a loser.
Michael, you're a loser.
What do you feel?
As we were driving here, those are actually the words that were going through my head as I was thinking about
So say it 4 or 5 times, and every time you say it, pause. Just feel what you feel, and then say it again.
Michael, you are a loser.
Good. Feel it. Then say it again.
Michael, you are a loser. Michael, you are a loser. Michael, you are a loser.
Good. Now close your eyes. Which parent does this most remind you of? It's not a battle. It's just like whatever pops in your head.
I would have thought it's actually my mom.
Good. Good. So now I want you to be your mom and say not the things that you heard her say, but the things that you heard in what she said. Go ahead. And point your finger and feel it. If you feel it, let yourself feel it. Let it out. Let it go. Give me some Kleenex. You're doing great. Put all those feelings into it. All the things you heard her say. Phase 1. Phase 1.
Will you say what you said one more time? What I should be saying to me?
I want you to be your mom and say the things, not only that she might have actually said, but what you actually heard her saying in what she said. Like, you're a loser. You'll never make it.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, yeah.
So if they were, it's more like the. She never said it, but I like what I heard was, Michael, you need to be perfect and things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Like
That's
that.
exactly what I want to hear. Point your finger.
Michael.
Take your finger and put your arm out like this.
Straight out.
Like that.
Michael, you need to be perfect. Michael, you need to be the happy one in our family. Michael, you need to be the one who always cheers everyone else up. Michael, you need to be the one who everyone looks to when they're sad. Michael, you need to be perfect. Michael.
Close your eyes. What hurts? What makes you so sad?
I just feel like I feel like I'm not that.
Let it out. Feel the sadness. Okay? I want you to put your hand over your mouth. And when I count to 3, I want you to scream as loud as you can. I am not perfect. 1, 2, 3, go.
I'm not perfect!
What do you notice?
But that's okay. I don't feel like that's okay right now, but
yeah,
then it is.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I want you to imagine that we can turn the clock back. About what age were you when you started hearing these messages, these expectations? Youngest age?
Like some of my first memories with my mom.
So 3, 4, 5?
Yeah, probably like 3 or 4.
Good, 3 or 4. Good. So now you're gonna be your mom.
Okay.
There's gonna be 3-year-old Michael there. Only you're gonna say everything that you wish she had the skills to say, so he wouldn't make it up that if he wasn't perfect, he was a loser. Okay? Everything that beautiful little boy needed to hear, so that he wouldn't feel like unless he makes everybody happy, he's a loser. Unless he's perfect, he's a loser. Okay? And I want you to make that 3-year-old get it.
Okay. Michael, no matter what you do in your life, no matter who you choose to love, what you choose to do with your career and with your education or anything, I will love you no matter what. No matter
what made you sad then?
Just I was thinking about how it's just crazy how my mom now today would never say these things to me, but it's just because she didn't have the skills to take care of a little 3-year-old and to teach this 3-year-old who like, what they actually need to hear, what they should hear, what they, you know, like not what like the parents just tell their kids to do, just go to college, just do the normal 9 to 5 thing, like just do what you want to do, don't do what the whole world is telling you to do, and just be happy with it. It doesn't matter what the whole world is telling you to do. Just do what makes you happy, because that's the only thing that matters.
So like everybody in this room, your mom and their parents didn't have the skills. So guess whose job it is now to talk to that 3-year-old? And the good thing about it is it could really make a difference in your money.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask the group, do you guys think his income might improve if he could actually stop talking to himself the way he interpreted mom talking to him? If he actually transformed that conversation?
Yep.
If he talks to himself the way he wishes his mom had the skills to talk to himself?
And what's so crazy is that my mom now, you all, like, half of you know her. She's amazing. She would never say those things to me. But then because I felt that when I was 3 or 4, that, like, has affected my whole life.
It's too bad nobody can identify with you.
The thing is she could have said everything perfectly, and you still might have made it up that she didn't.
Actually, that's a guarantee.
Yeah.
That's
Really?
a guarantee.
Oh, that is just lovely.
The whole reason we come to the physical realm, and it doesn't matter, the most perfect parents, we will make up an emotional black hole. That's why we came to Earth. To grab onto an emotional black hole so we could get what it's like when you get beyond thinking that something is wrong with you. In that realm, it looked like a fun game. You know, the thing here. Okay, now, I want you to say it again, and I want you to notice what the 3-year-old is doing as you talk to him. And I want you to make him get it.
Okay. Michael, I want you to know that I will love you no matter what. I will support you and care for you and show you so much support and love and never-ending kindness and unjudgmentalness no matter what you choose to do, because I want you to be happy. You are going to be happy, and you're going to do that because I'm going to show you love and acceptance and gratefulness and love for no matter what you choose to do.
Now, look and notice, what is the 3-year-old doing? You can close your eyes. What is he doing?
He's listening and he's hearing it.
Yeah? What else?
He's getting it and he's smiling. And he knows that it's going to be true. He believes it.
Good. Switch chairs and feel the 3-year-old. Feel it in your heart. I can't remember. Are you the one who's a dancer?
Yeah, I am.
Good. Okay. Feel the 3-year-old. Now, let that warm feeling in your heart fill up your whole body. By the way, what color is that feeling?
Yellow.
Beautiful. The color of joy. I want you, with every breath, that color is going to expand until it fills your whole body. Let me know when it fills your whole body. Phase 3.
Big problem.
No sound.
We're there.
Good. As soon as you've got music, you can do Prayer for the Children. Or better yet,